Hi, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be working with HTML, CSS, and bits of JavaScript. We're going to be learning how to create variables for colors and different types of information in CSS. And then we're going to be using JavaScript to create this. So we have a dark mode and a light mode, and we will be using variables in the CSS variables inside this project. So let's get started. First, I'm going to open up my program. Today, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. And this is kind of the program that I've set up initially. So if you go over to our browser, you can see we just have title, a paragraph, and two buttons which do nothing. So this is how it looks. So in order to create variables in CSS, let's go to our style tag, and you can obviously also do this in another CSS file, and I do a colon root. And what this will do is that this is just where you're going to create all your variables so that you can use them later. So here we're going to, let's create a variable for dark mode. So dark would be black, and light, so light would be white. So in order to create dark, you're going to do two dashes to indicate that this is a variable. You can write your variable name, which can be anything. You can put your colon, and then you're going to put the value you want it to be. So I want it to be black. And then we can also create one for light. So now we've just created two simple variables just by doing two dashes, the variable name, and colon like you normally do in CSS, and the value you want it to be equal to. In order to use this variable, we're going to go, let's say in the body, we're going to say background color is equal to var to say that's a variable, and put two parentheses. Inside the parentheses, you put your variable name. So I want the background color to start off as white. And let's also do this for the title. So title, comma, and the message. And both of these are just going to have a non-background color, a normal color of black. And I'm going to be using my variable. Now I know that CSS has these built in black and white, but towards the end of this video, you're going to kind of see why it's useful to make everything in terms of variables. So now let's save this code, go into our project and refresh the page. Now we don't really see any difference. So now let's change the value of dark and light. So in dark, I'm going to change it to, let's say, this red. And in light, I'm going to just change it to a light red. So now if we refresh the page, that's a little bit strange. Ah, I see what I did. By accident, I wrote white here, so that needs to be light. And here it needs to be dark. So now let's save our program and run. And now you notice that we didn't even have to change the code really. So if we use these variables multiple times, we only had to change it in one spot, exactly like how a variable could be used in another project. So the very next step is to now use this information that we've created, use the platform that we've created to create a dark and light mode, kind of like you see here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create you can kind of see that we already created two buttons. One which executes this function when it's dark mode, and one which executes when it's light mode. So inside the dark mode function, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just first just say the document.get element by ID parentheses check dark. And this will just get this specific button And in order to change the CSS, you do dot style and dot the property you want to change. So I want to change the display. I'm going to set it equal to none so that we can get the other button, check light, dot style, dot display, and we're just going to change it to block. So and I'm just going to copy the same thing, put it here, except for do a little switcheroo and change this to block and this to none. So what I just did was I got the button and I changed the style display to reverse. So if I click the dark button, then it'll hide that button and show the light button. If I click the light button, it'll do the reverse, hide the light button and show the dark button. And this is kind of what we're seeing in our example. The light mode is the button's here, the dark mode button is here. So now if I refresh the page, you notice that we still see both buttons. And that's because we haven't set our default CSS code for them. So let's get the check dark button and initially have that as block. And let's get the check light button and set that to none. And now if we reload the page, you can notice that the button is switching. But we also want the colors to be switching. So in order to do that, we need to get the style to access the variables. So we need to create a variable to access the variables. So in order to do this, we need to do var style, which is just our name, and we're going to get computed style of document.body. And what this will do is I'll just grab all these variables for us so that we can use them inside our JavaScript code. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the background. Get element by. I want to change the body dot style dot background color to dark, right? Because we're going into dark mode. So in order to access the dark variable, we just do style to get property value of dark. So this will get our style and get the variable at dark. We can do the same thing. So then afterwards, we need to, I'm just going to copy this code and change this element by ID to the title. And we want the title to be light. And we also want the message to be light. So I'm going to change this to message and change this to, and this is going to stay light. And we're actually not going to change the background color, but the actual color for the heading and the paragraph. So now we have successfully coded the dark button. I'm just going to copy this code and so let's copy all of this code and paste it into the light button because it's the exact same. But all we have to do is just reverse dark with light. So let's change this to light and change these two to dark. And now if I save this and go back to our code and refresh, when I click dark mode, it turns dark. And when I click light mode, it turns light again. So I know that this was just a little bit complicated, but first you just need to create the variables with root, and you can access them through var and then the variable name. Inside the JavaScript is where it gets really complicated, but if you break it down, you'll get used to it. So you just do get computed style to get the styling, and then you can get the variable names by doing get property value. And then that's how we are going to be changing it from light mode to dark mode. And you can see now that we don't have to change black and white everywhere. So if I want to change it from dark red, light red to black and white, I only have to change it in one spot. And then now the entire website still works. So that's it. That's our variables in CSS with our dark mode and light mode project. So see you later. Bye.